If we could go ahead and call the Osceola County School Board meeting to order for Tuesday, July 30th. If you would, we'll begin each meeting with our invocation, which tonight will be led by Pastor Jackson from the Bible Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, be led by Tom Ott, our principal at OTEC, and our mission statement will be led by Yara de la Fuentes, the principal of Thacker Avenue Elementary. If you could, and our translation services by Belinda Reyes. If you could, please join me in silencing your cell phones, and please rise for the invocation.
Father, we thank you for such a beautiful day. We thank you for the privilege to be here tonight. We thank you for each one that's represented, their heart to serve. Lord, we ask tonight as business is presented, that we ask for your wisdom tonight, that you would give us your direction and your wisdom, and you would bless our time together. We thank you again for all that you have done and will do by faith. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Our mission statement is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good afternoon. My name is Osceola, and I'm here to provide customer services. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Belinda Reyes y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. Board brings us to comment section of our agenda. Mr. Soto, do you have any comments? Start to my left.
Gosh. Well, thank you for being here, everyone. Really appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoy this meeting. How about that?
Very good, very good.
Right.
I'll just, one quick comment. We had a event this week with Major League Soccer and the Soccer Foundation and Target and the Orlando City League at Neptune Middle School, where they have donated basically two pitches that were for soccer on the where they took two basketball courts and were able to convert those over. It's really very, very cool. The soccer Major League Soccer All-Star game tomorrow night. They had a bunch of their players there, but they had an event there, and it was quite interesting to see. And one thing I kind of thought of when I was there, I don't believe when I graduated from high school we even had a high school soccer team in this county. But soccer, maybe even more so than many other sports, is kind of a great thing to eliminate barriers with cultural diversity. And when you think of a community that didn't even have a soccer team 40 years ago to what it has now, one of the persons who was there, the MC, had asked a show of hands of how many people there were Hispanic, and it was about 50%, which somewhat mirrors our community. And what better way to get to eliminate those cultural barriers than having kids playing on a team as teammates? That will ensure this next generation doesn't see any of those barriers as they move forward. It works as a community. It strengthens your community. Community being Neptune Middle School, community being Osceola County, community being the state of Florida, the United States. And probably not much more evident on that if you think back, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago with the Women's World Cup. And as a country with a lot of different things going on right now, I think you're probably hard-pressed to find people who are not all pulling for the USA World Cup, Women's World Cup team. So Target donated more than $100,000 towards that project for us. It's the second one of these we've had in Osceola County. It's a very big deal with the equipment and stuff they have there is very state of the art. Several hundred kids there. They had activities for the youth, and I know several of the kids that went and they had a blast. So it was really good with we're not an affluent county, and we cannot provide some of the things to our students without the help of Target and organizations like this that help support us and give those opportunities to our kids. So I thank that whole group, particularly Target, who carried the water and wrote the big check. So it's very worthwhile. So that's all I have. Mr. Booth?
Yep. Today, our CTE director, Ms. Stefanowitz, asked me a few months ago if I would help host part of her professional development for CTE teachers today. So we decided we'd go with a panel about CTE legislation and what's happening in that. And I just wanted to thank personally from the dais Congressman Darren Soto and Commissioner Fred Hawkins for accepting the invite and coming and spending an hour with our teachers, CTE teachers today, talking about legislation on a federal, state, and local level. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. And Bruce Harrington, who is from the Florida Department of Education. I didn't get him, Mrs. Stefanowitz did, so she can take credit for that one. But I did want to thank Congressman Soto and Commissioner Hawkins for taking that time out of their day today. So thank you.
As you guys know, Mr. Thacker, I think, graduated 1 year before me. Is that right? Because I spent my whole time at OHS playing varsity soccer. So I'm glad to hear it's finally here. But no, great comments. I'll be brief and just say that I had the pleasure of speaking at our Administrators Welcome Back last week, and then also today at our new teacher orientation, welcome and training. And, our community relations department does a great job. It really is so many departments that really do professional development. Pulled together another great event today. It's always an honor to be able to speak to our community, and particularly those that are investing so deeply in the work that happens every single day in the school district. I said it publicly this morning, though I'll say it again now. I continue to be and just couldn't be more impressed with you, Dr. Pace, and your work and your commitment and the things that you continue to do. I genuinely respect you and genuinely enjoy you, and our board and our community is blessed to have you. So thank you.
Superintendent, any comments?
Thank you very much. It was my honor and privilege this morning to welcome back our new teachers on behalf of the board and the school district and our community. I was there with Ms. Jackson and the team from OCEA. We have an outstanding bunch of new teachers, and as I shared with them, I'm sharing with all of you. It is our commitment to retain each and every one of them and to help them be successful as they serve our students, every child, every chance, every day. And I look forward to sharing with the board and the community next week our back to school video. We're all about believing in our kids, believing in each other, believing in the difference that when we work together, we can make a difference throughout this community and the work that we're doing in our schools. So look forward to sharing with you at next week's board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Pace, and don't get too relaxed. You're next on the agenda here. For,
more exciting stuff. Yes, absolutely. We had a couple of last-minute moves with our assistant principals. So if I could invite Ms. Valerie Martinez, please, to the podium. She can bring her little people if she wants. Board members, I am honored and privileged to be able to recommend Ms. Valerie Martinez as the new assistant principal at Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies. Had the opportunity to watch Ms. Martinez as she's progressed throughout her career from a teacher at Gateway High School, an ELL educational specialist at Neptune Middle, a resource teacher for math and science for our school district, a secondary science curriculum specialist for our school district, science teacher at Parkway, science teacher and ESOL compliance specialist at Neptune Middle. She had a brief moment when she lost her mind and went to Orange County Public Schools, but she quickly found her way back and currently serves as our coordinator for the Multicultural Curriculum Instruction and Compliance Department for our school district. She received her bachelor's degree in molecular microbiology from the University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from National Louis, and I'm confident that she will bring great work with Ms. Yara De La Fuentes and the rest of the Thacker team at Thacker Avenue as an assistant principal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishaupt to approve with a second by Mr. Soto. Board, any comments? Just one. That school, it's where I went to school, so it's very near and dear to my heart. So good luck. Just a second. Let us vote quick. If hearing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to thank Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Dr. Respis, School board members, thank you so much, and I hope to make you proud, Mr. Thacker. I would like to thank Ms. De La Fuentes and her team for entrusting me the opportunity to be able to serve the students, the staff, teachers, and the community of Thacker Avenue Elementary for International Studies. I'd also like to thank Ms. Belinda Reyes for her leadership in helping me grow this year as well. My family. I have 3 little ones here as well. My mom, who's always here to support me. My husband, who is definitely by my side every step of the way. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to serving the community and making everybody here proud and helping Thacker Avenue Elementary from good to great.
Good job. Thank you very much. Good luck.
And now, board members, if I could invite Ms. Cheryl Reyes-Cuevas to the podium. I am pleased tonight to welcome Ms. Cheryl Reyes-Cuevas, with your permission, board, from the dark side to join the team here in the School District of Osceola County to serve as the assistant principal at the Osceola Technical College at the St. Cloud campus. She has been a student affairs specialist, a clerk typist, and a teacher at Sunshine Elementary School, a learning resource teacher for the Lee County Public Education Center, ESOL resource teacher at Mirror Lakes Elementary, resource teacher at East Lee County High School, administrative dean at Wekiva High, assistant principal at Sun Ranch Middle, and currently serves as an instructional support teacher for Orange Technical College in the Orange County Public Schools. She received her specialist degree in educational leadership from NOVA and a master's from Hodges University, and I'm confident she will be an asset to Mr. Ott and the rest of the team.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Weishaupt. Board, any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 4-0. Congratulations and welcome back to Osceola.
Thank you. Thank you for the for the blessing and the opportunity to serve. I want to thank my family, also my former Orange County family, including Dr. Armbruster, who led me here. Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Dr. Stefanowitz, and Mr. Ott, and my new CTE family. This is an exciting time for Osceola County, and I'm very excited about the things that are happening here, and I'm excited to be a part of helping every student be future ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Dr. Pace, that's it?
That's all, sir.
Okay, it brings us to our public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to address the board, if not done so, I have several here already, but there are some forms in the back of the room. You just fill those out if you wish to speak. Yeah, that's true. And it's, can I finish one?
I'm sorry.
And it's also time as we move into this, if you are here for some of the appointments and transfers and wish to go celebrate, it's a good time to leave if you so choose. So with that, I'll bring Gary Conroy up first. And if you take your time just a second as they mill out.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, sir, and other board members. My name is Gary Conroy. I'm the business agent for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 385, based in Orlando. As you probably know, we represent the workers here at the district. And last week, I will tell you that we had the biggest turnout ever for a contract vote. 471 people voted. 457 to accept, 10 rejected, and 4 didn't understand the instructions on the ballot, so we couldn't count them. But anyway, we want to thank you for what you've done for the workers, and we have a very collaborative effort now with Randy Shatera. Randy, you're back there. Okay, going to get you a higher chair so we can see you back there, unless you want to stay out of the limelight. But anyway, very collaborative effort as we're going forward. I don't believe being adversarial gets you anywhere, but being collaborative. And you guys know you want to retain good employees going forward and give them a good work. And I want the same thing. I want them to be happy to come to work, stay working here, and just not to be foreboding, but you all know what the Disney World has done is raising the bar in the area, and they're up to $15 an hour. And just we need to work together going forward to retain some of these great employees you have here. And I just appreciate everything's done with Randy and I and his team and my team, and going forward, it's going to be a great time for us both, I believe. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Next, Chip Tatum. And if you would, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Tatum.
Good evening. I'm Chip Tatum. I'm with the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando, and I'll keep my comments very brief today. We submitted a letter on behalf of the association over the weekend to the school board, just encouraging your support of the alternative study for zero-impact housing units. The association's been working with our partners at the county level throughout Central Florida on affordable housing, and no doubt one of the greatest demands right now is for these smaller units as we have more young professionals and other folks moving into our markets. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that in Osceola County the demand is pretty great as well. And at the current price point, it's virtually impossible for a developer to make the numbers work on affordable or conventional housing for zero-bedroom housing units. So we applaud the work of Susan Caswell in Osceola County and your consultants for vetting this, and would encourage your support. But I won't go and reiterate the letter again for you, but we just appreciate your consideration and hope that you will support that as it comes up on the agenda later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. And I did mean to state I believe this item is going to get pulled from the agenda today, but I meant to state that before you spoke.
No problem.
You're still welcome to speak. Next, Stephen Ogier. I'm sure that's not right. Again,
it's Steve Ogier.
Ogier.
But they get slaughtered all the time.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem, sir.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Steve Ogier. I'm here as an employee of the multifamily industry and a member of the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando. I strongly support lowering the school impact fee for zero-bedroom housing units as recommended by the October 16th, 2018 alternative impact fee study submitted by Osceola County Development Department. As Chip said, the need for affordable and attainable housing is extremely high in Osceola County. Lowering the school impact fee for these units will allow our industry to serve the enormous need and demand for this housing product. Very few zero-bedroom units are being produced in Osceola County because of the high development costs associated with producing these units. Osceola County's impact fees often exceed the cost of the land, with the multifamily school impact fee alone costing $11,362 per unit. The alternative study demonstrates that zero-bedroom units are currently charged at a rate that are disproportionately to the student generation rate. Additionally, in July 19, 2019 memo, the school's district's own consultant, Tyndall Oliver, acknowledged and agreed with the alternative study, finding and recommending that accepting the reduced fee based on the lower student generation rate, that proposed fee being $552. In conclusion, I ask that you support lowering the school impact fees for zero-bedroom housing units as recommended by the study. Thank you very much.
Next, Alex Best. Mr. Best, and again, just repeat, you have 3 minutes, not 13 minutes. 3.
Okay, thank you. As an employee of the multifamily industry and as a student, I strongly support lowering the school impact fee for zero-bedroom units as recommended by the October 16, 2018 alternative impact fee study submitted by the Osceola County Development Department. Zero-bedroom units, many times referred to as studio apartments, do not generate nor house the student count that other unit types do. This higher fee will affect the future supply of zero-bedroom units and therefore adversely affecting the housing affordability for for the many people that need this price point for housing. In conclusion, I ask you to support lowering the school impact fee for zero-bedroom housing units as recommended by the study. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one more, David Marks.
Hello, my name is David Marks. I'm with a company called Marketplace Advisors, a real estate consulting company. Been working here in Central Florida since the late 80s. I'm very concerned about the impact fees and its impact on affordable housing, not just as it relates to zero bedroom, but on smaller units. I did an analysis. I got information from the school system on recent apartment complexes that have been built here in Osceola County, and they're generating less than half the students that you are charging them for or projecting to charge them for. You are saying that each apartment unit is generating 0.39 students, and I've got about a dozen projects here that were built between 2007 and 2018, and they're generating 0.19 students, so less than half of what you're looking to charge them for. So their fee should be, let's see here, fee should be about $5,500 a unit instead of the $11,000 per unit. So I'm asking you to revisit that. I think there's a better way for this to be done, so this doesn't have to be an issue for you all moving forward, which it will continue to be till it gets addressed, and to base it on square footage. So on a small unit, you're going to be charging less of an impact fee as you would for a large unit. And it's having a disproportionate on lower income and minorities. The smaller households are made up of older population. They have less children. They tend to be renters. They tend to be black or African American. They also tend to be Hispanic. So I think it's a problem that really needs to get addressed. The Consumer Expenditure Survey from 2017 says that a one-person household generates 0 children, and that's just by definition of what a one-person household is. A two-person household generates 0.1 child. So one of the interesting things about this information is that the newer apartment units are not like the old apartment units. You have some old apartments here in Osceola County that are a lot of 3 and 4 bedroom. That's not what they're building anymore. None of these projects may have any 4 bedroom, may have very few 3 bedroom. They're mainly 1 and 2 bedroom units. So I think this really needs to get addressed, or you're going to continue to have this issue. And I reiterate some of the other comments here that this impact fee has now got to the point where it's higher than the cost of the land for these units, and I'm seeing projects that are being tabled because developers can't make it pencil. Thank you.
Mr. Booth?
Yeah, I was interested to know if you looked at the apartment complexes right across the street over here.
The apartment complex is right across the street?
Yeah, right down the street over here.
I'll give you a list of all the ones.
No, I don't want it. It's 1-to-1, right over here.
It's 1-to-1?
Yeah, 1 student per unit right down the road here, and that's from our own data.
Well, what year was that? What year was that project?
Excuse me, sir. I can take that data and balance it with your data and get to a 0.39.
Well, when was that project built?
Also, I've said it here many times. I'm going to say it again here. We do not have an affordable housing problem. We have a wage problem in Central Florida, not an affordable housing problem. And I'm done.
Well, they both go together, don't they? I'll give you a copy of the analysis.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
This was all the units I could find that were built between 2017 and
We need a copy for the record, Mr. Marks. Thank you. As long as she has it, it's fine.
Any other? At this point, we will recess our recess for a board workshop. I believe this is a board workshop on rulemaking. Mr. Boyd.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Pace. This evening we bring you a set of a few changes on existing school board rules. We're not asking for any action tonight. These are just simply for the workshop. Rule 2.29, Audit Advisory Committee. The revision would delete paragraph 2B3, for example, Director of Finance from Audit Advisory Committee as a voting member, It revises paragraph 2B to establish the school board chair as the audit advisory committee chair and update the correct title, Chief Business and Finance Officer. It revises paragraph 3 to establish the number of audit advisory committee meetings to at least 2 per year and adds section 218.391 Auditor Selection Procedures Florida statutes to the legal citations. For Rule 2.95 Wellness Program, it revises paragraph 3D to the term Student Accessible Vending Machines to prohibit food and beverage sales to students from concessions and fundraisers during the period from midnight before until 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. It revises paragraph 2J2, 5A2, and 5A3 to prohibit food and beverage sales to students from vending machines, from school stores, or as fundraisers by student clubs and organizations, parent groups, or boosters during the period from midnight before until 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Rule 4.60, District and Statewide Assessment Program, revises paragraph 4 to clarify that a student enrolled in an advanced placement, international baccalaureate, or AC, Advanced International Certificate of Education course, who takes the respective AP, IB, or AC assessment and earns the minimum score necessary to earn college credit, does not have to take the EOC assessment for the corresponding course. Rule 4.70, Home Education Program, revises paragraph 2A1 to clarify that the superintendent shall accept the notice and immediately register the home education program upon receipt of the notice. Revises or adds paragraph 2A4 to state that for a home education student may enroll in a public school solely for career and technical courses or programs, industry certifications, national assessments, and statewide assessments offered by the district shall be made available to the home education program student. And lastly, Rule 8.43, Competitive Sales and Fundraisers Regulations, revises paragraph 1 to clarify the term student accessible vending machines to prohibit food and beverage sales to students from concessions and fundraisers during the period from midnight before until 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. It deletes paragraphs 2 and 3. It revises paragraph 4 to clarify the department name School Nutrition Services, revises paragraph 5 to clarify the title School Board's Wellness Program. Any of the proposed revisions for the student progression plan have been postponed to the next rulemaking cycle, and this set of changes flows directly from changes in statute at the federal and state level. That's all I have tonight, board members.
School board, any questions? I've just got one question. The
Yes.
the 30 minutes after school, that comes straight from federal?
That's my understanding. Ms. Gordon gave me the revision, and that's my understanding.
Can we just verify that that's being dictated to us?
Yes, sir. Be happy to do that.
Board, any other comments?
No, just so you know, I'm going to, Ms. Graber, I'm going to talk to you about 2.29 just for a little greater understanding, but talk to you about another time. And then I had a similar question to Thacker I was just going to talk about offline and come back during the actual rulemaking approval process sometime.
Yes, sir.
We will adjourn the rulemaking workshop.
Thank you, board members. Dr. Pace.
And reconvene the school board meeting to recess the school board meeting for the budget and millage public hearing.
Good evening, members of the board. Tonight is the first public hearing on the proposed millage rates and tentative budget for fiscal year 2019-20. Tonight's public hearing on the tentative budget will include remarks regarding the proposed millage and budget. There will be an opportunity for public and board member comment. We will request that you adopt a resolution setting the proposed total millage levy to support the 2019-20 tentative budget. We will also request that you adopt resolutions approving the 2019-20 tentative budget as presented and approving the 2019-20 policy regarding the expenditure of lottery funds. We will request authorization for the superintendent and staff to perform all necessary actions to comply with truth and millage requirements. And lastly, we'll announce the date of the final public hearing to adopt the 2019-20 budget. So let me start by explaining what TRIM is. The Truth in Millage, or TRIM legislation, was enacted in 1980, and the requirements are detailed under Section 200.065 of Florida statutes. The statute dictates the form, size, and placement of budget advertisements, as well as the order of business during the public budget hearings. TRIM requires 2 public hearings for open discussion of the millage rates and the proposed budgets of all taxing authorities. So what is a mill? A mill is a property tax levy of $1 per $1,000 of taxable property value. So 1 mill equals 0.001. So for a $100,000 piece of property times 0.001 levies $100. The Florida Education Finance Program, or FEFP, is the mechanism by which state and local funds are allocated to Florida school districts. The Florida legislature sets the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage rates that must be levied by the school board. The school board must levy the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage in order to receive any state funding under the Florida Education Finance Program. The total proposed millage related to school funding for the 2019-20 school year is 6.240 mils. This millage will generate revenue for the general operating and capital outlay funds. As previously mentioned, the millage rates are determined by the Florida legislature, and this is the maximum millage that the school board is allowed to levy without a specific voter-approved referendum. The district must levy the required local effort and the prior period funding adjustment to receive approximately $294.8 million in state FEFP funding. In addition, we must levy the full basic discretionary millage to receive $16.4 million in compression funding from the state. The proposed total millage rate related to school funding is 6.240 mils, represents a decrease of 0.171 mils when compared to the 2018-19 rate. The reduction in the RLE from 4.161 to 3.984 mils equates to a reduced local tax levy of $5.2 million when applied to the current tax roll. As required by TRIM, we must compare the proposed millage rate to the rollback rate. The rollback rate is the millage rate that would generate the same amount of revenue as last year if applied to the current year's adjusted taxable value. Under TRIM, the rollback rate is the basis for determining if tax rates have increased or decreased. So this slide compares the proposed millage rates to the rollback rates. The current state law rollback rate is 3.8614 mils. The current proposed state law millage rate for 2019-20 is 3.992 mils. The proposed rate is 3.38% more than the rollback rate. The rollback rate for the total millage is 5.9465. The proposed total millage rate is 6.240. The proposed total rate is 4.94% greater than the rollback rate. So based on this information, we advertised a notice of tax increase on Sunday, July 28th. The Osceola County tax levy will increase by $17.1 million for school-related taxes in 2019-20 as compared to the prior year. While the millage rate decreased, the tax roll is up 12.8% over the prior year, thus generating the net increase. So how are property taxes calculated? The taxable value of a homeowner's property equals the assessed value as determined by the Osceola County Property Appraiser's Office, less the $25,000 homestead exemption if applicable. The homestead exemption is an amount that is exempt from ad valorem taxes. The amount is established by law for properties used as the owner's primary residence and is normally $25,000. The portion of property tax related to school funding equals the taxable value divided by 1,000 times the school district millage rate. Therefore, in this example, a homeowner with an assessed value of $125,000 with the homestead exemption will pay $624 of school-related ad valorem property tax to Osceola County. So how will this impact taxpayers in our county? This slide illustrates the changes in school-related property taxes for an Osceola County homeowner over the last several years. In this example, a home valued at $205,000 in 2015 would have generated roughly $1,306.98 in school-related property tax. If the owner qualified for Save Our Homes, by the 2019-20 school year, the assessed value of that same home would be $219,285. Based on that valuation, the school-related property tax would be $1,212.37. This is a decrease of $7 from the previous year and a 4-year cumulative decrease of $94.61.
Is this the tax increase we advertised in the paper?
Yes. Based on the rollback rate.
I'm tongue-in-cheek.
So now let's change focus from taxes to the budget that you'll be adopting tonight. The key items in the budget have been shared with you in previous workshops and presentations. The budget that was presented on July 16th has been adjusted to incorporate the second FEFP calculation and the final certification of the tax roll. Other minor changes and adjustments were made to the fund balances as we continue to close out the 2018-19 fiscal year. Based on current FTE projections, FEFP and local tax revenues for the 2019-20 budget are $27.4 million greater than the 2018-19 year. Funding per student will increase by $211 or 2.95% over the prior year. Here it's important to note that the Best and Brightest bonus program has been rolled into the FEFP for the 2019-20 year, which does account for $97 or 1.36% of this per student funding increase. This next slide shows our long-range forecast. At the close of the 18-19 school year, we are projecting a surplus in the general fund as planned. The proposed budget presented tonight also includes a surplus for the 2019-20 budget. Based on state funding projections, we are anticipating minimal increases in per-student funding for the following years. Careful monitoring of budgetary resources will remain a top priority to ensure sustainability through any future funding shortfalls. So this is the district's total budget in summary form. The general fund is the main fund from which most operating expenditures are paid. In addition, tonight you'll approve budgets for the debt service fund, which is used to pay for the outstanding bonds of the district, capital projects fund, which accounts for major construction and renovation projects, the special revenue fund, which consists of food service and federal grants, and finally the internal service fund, which accounts for the district's health insurance, property casualty, and workers' compensation programs. The total tentative budget is $1,266,921,263. And I know this is hard to see, but just for a visual, this slide represents the annual budget at the level of detail that you'll be adopting tonight. This is the same level of detail at which you approve budget amendments throughout the year. So, Mr. Chairman, this is the time for any public comment. After public comment, the floor will be open for board member discussion and comments.
Okay, is anybody in the audience have any comments on the budget proposal? Hearing none, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting and open it up.
Somebody's going to talk about this tax increase.
I was going to open it up to the board right now if you would like.
Let me hear from Ricky on that then. Mr. Booth?
Look, I'll make this statement right here on this dais. I find it extremely disconcerting, maybe even more than that the state would force a school district to put an advertisement in the paper saying you're raising taxes when in fact you're lowering the millage rate on homes. It makes no sense. Just because new homes have come online and new commercial properties that make the revenue higher than it was last year doesn't mean you're assessing more, you're collecting more taxes, but the millage rate is actually going down. Which, by the way, all of this is the state. So if you adopt a different number than what the state tells you have to adopt, then you can't participate in the FEFP program. Well, you can't do that because that's all the money that the school district gets. So it's extremely ridiculous. It's misleading to the public, and somebody, and I would hope our representatives would do something about this because it's extremely it's misguided, it's misleading, and it's disingenuous.
And it's another further attack on traditional.
It's an attack on school boards and school board members. And look, I certainly there's some good folks doing some good things in Tallahassee. That's for sure. But this is ridiculous. I've said my piece.
Board, any other comments? Going once, going twice. Hearing none, concludes our comment portion of this workshop. And
go through the motions.
Okay.
So first one is we're going to recommend that the board adopt Resolution 20-001, which will set the required local effort, the prior period funding adjustment, discretionary operating, and capital outlay millage rates for the 2019-20 year as follows. Required local effort to be set at 3.984 mils. Prior period funding adjustment, 0.008 mils. Discretionary operating, 0.748 mils. Capital outlay, 1.5 mils, for a total of 6.240 mils. And the total millage rate to be levied exceeds the rollback rate by 4.94%. Mr. Chairman, this resolution does require a roll call vote.
Okay.
Mr. Soto? Aye.
Mr. Weissier?
Aye.
Mr. Thacker?
Aye.
Mr. Booth?
Aye.
Next, we have the budget adoption. So we recommend that the board adopt Resolution 20-002, adopting the tentative budget in the amount of $1,266,921,263. And this also requires a roll call vote.
Mr. Soto? Aye.
Mr. Weissier?
Aye.
Mr. Thacker?
Aye.
Mr. Booth?
Aye.
Next, we recommend that the board approve the policy for the expenditure of lottery funds as listed on this slide. Mr. Chairman, this requires a regular vote.
Okay, I will
Motion to approve?
Second.
have a motion by Mr. Soto with a second by Mr. Booth to approve the policy for expenditures of lottery funds. Any further discussion or comments, board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 4-0.
Can I make one point here as well? Just
Gave you a chance.
one more. This one. I actually get this a lot within the community. Well, use that lottery money for that. Use that lottery money for that. That's where all that lottery money should go. We just passed a $1.2 billion budget. 1.6 million of that is lottery money. Just to give you correct?
That's correct.
So just to give you an idea of the lottery money, which we certainly appreciate, but it's 1.6 million in a 1.2 billion dollar budget. I just want to make that clear. Sorry, soapbox, I'm done again.
That's okay.
You're good. All right, so last one is, finally, we're recommending that the board authorize the superintendent and staff to perform all the necessary tasks to ensure compliance with the truth in millage or trim requirements of Chapter 200.065 of Florida statutes. And this does require a regular vote.
Motion to approve?
I'll second with no discussion from Mr. Booth.
I will
approve that.
I have a motion by Mr. Soto with a second by Mr. Weishauer to authorize the staff to perform all necessary tasks to ensure the compliance with trim. Board, I think discussion was cut off, but any further discussion?
That was part of the motion.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Lastly, the final public hearing on the 2019-20 budget will be held on Tuesday, September 10th at 5:30 p.m. here in the School District Administration Center at 817 Bill Beck Boulevard, Kissimmee, Florida. Board members, this does conclude the first public hearing to adopt the 2019-20 proposed millage rates and tentative budget.
Thank you very much. I do have one question for you based on Mr. Booth's comments. Somewhere in years past, I've seen a little schedule that shows what the total state lottery dollars are and how much goes to the scholarships and da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
If you could find that, it would, for a future meeting at some point, it just might be of public interest.
I will do that.
So, board, any other comments? If not, we will close the public hearing on budget and millage, and we will reconvene our regularly scheduled board meeting. And brings us down to agenda modifications. Dr. Pace, I believe you have something to add.
Yes, sir. Under 17.01, I'm asking for approval of the proposal for the Teamsters salary negotiations for 2019-20 school year. Okay. You do have a copy of the document at your side, and Mr. Conroy shared the ratification votes with you, which we are very excited about.
And are we removing the item in here on
18.01.
18.01 will be removed from the agenda. Any other agenda modifications or changes? Hearing none, board, your pleasure.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda with the additional blue sheeted item and the removal of 18.01 as well as the consent agenda by Mr. Soto with a second by, is that you, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Booth. Board, any further discussion? Tim, are you thinking? Are you good? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. I believe that brings us to an informational item. And Darla Bungo and Sherry Wareka, if you'd like to come on up. Never mind, Mr. Phelps.
Actually, it's all three of us.
You just took his job away.
Sorry. Only go by what I'm told.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Pace. We appreciate the opportunity to present some discipline data from our schools tonight. Some of the information that you'll hear tonight is in response to an ACLU report, which school districts across the state received several weeks ago. In addition to some of the discipline data that you'll hear this evening, you're also going to learn a little bit about the great things that our schools are doing in reference to positive behavior intervention. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Darla Bungo, who will get us started with the information on discipline.
Good evening. You have the chart. I believe you received the PowerPoint. Are we on to the next slide? Do we have a clicker?
Jose has the clicker.
Jose, thank you. All right. All right, the first chart that you see with regards to out-of-school suspension, keeping students away from the school learning environment, this is a comparison in the purple frame. That was 2017-2018 school year, and the blue column is the past year that just finished, 2018-2019. There was a reduction of a total of 508 days less out-of-school suspension that our students served. As you go to the next column, that's the recommendations for expulsion. And from the 2017-18 to the 2018-19 school years, we had an increase of 104 recommendations. There was a concern about if we reduced out-of-school suspensions, would we be giving consequences for serious acts? That counteracts that right there, that yes, in fact, severe incidences are being disciplined accordingly.
If you recall, about 2 years ago, we asked the board to help us with reduction of out-of-school suspension, and one of the strategies we had was to apply a rule that a maximum of 9 days of out-of-school suspension cumulative for a student across the board. We saw a significant decrease in out-of-school suspension last year. We continue to see a decrease in out-of-school suspension this year. So our hats are off to our school principals and staff for thinking out of the box and doing what they can to keep students in school. But one of the questions that came up, and I believe it came up from Mr. Booth actually, was a concern about if we reduce the number of days of suspension, are we going to allow students to kind of be getting away with some things that they should be consequenced for? And we really looked long and hard to make sure that we are indeed holding kids accountable. There are other ways to hold kids accountable other than suspension, but the data does show that for those more serious offenses, we are taking them seriously, and that would account for the increase in the recommendations for expulsion. And Ms. Bungo will go over a little bit more data too, because we did a little deeper dive into that data to see where some of the higher points are from the recommendations for expulsion.
Absolutely. The next column on that same page is the School Environmental Safety Incident Reporting, known as CESR, and they have 22, or I think it's 23 codes total for the state. Our code of conduct has, I think, 103 at last count, because we also have some local codes. They want to look at the most severe instances. They're not wanting us to trace parking lot violations, classroom violations, lunch violations, those matters that we hold inside. So I wanted to let you know the difference there. Of those most serious offenses, in the 17-18 school year, we had 435. We did jump to 211, 646. We also know an increase came about with the Senate Bill 7026, where we were having to report a lot of items that were CESR and locals to the state. So that's increased that. We've had to follow that, and I don't know that that'll decline anytime soon, because it would, and Senate Bill 7030, they're even emphasizing CESR even more. So we're going through a whole new training cycle from some of our previous people that have done discipline to anybody that's touching the discipline arena will be trained. So, and that's happening during pre-planning. Any questions on that slide? Okay. If you go to the next one, these are the items that Tom was referring to that we were looking at. Where did we increase? In disruption on campus at the CESR level, from the year 17-18 to the current past year 18-19, it was up 21 instances. If you look at the next one in the middle, that is something that we're going to address at the end of this presentation that we are very concerned about. That's the increase of drug use, possession, or drug sale distribution. And that includes the vape pens with the THC oil, that's the marijuana type of oil, not your vape pens that are nicotine. That's addressed in tobacco. You will see it increased 55 incidences. It's still a lot of instances, 79 up to 134. So I wanted to mention that part that we're looking at and saying that's an increase, and it's not healthy, and it's illegal, and it's a concern. The next item, that last column, is sex offenses, and there's a sex offense local, there's battery. They're all lumped together in this category. So from the 17-18 school year, we had 13 up to 29 this past school year.
Are those across all grade levels? Or
K through 12.
K-12, yes. Darla did mention the drug offenses, and we are targeting that as one of the interventions within our strategic plan, our proposed strategic plan. And one of the biggest things that schools are facing right now is just the issue of vaping. And of those 55, the majority of those really are surrounding the issue of vaping. And it's not just having a vaping pen, it's vaping THC and having the presence with that. So that is one of the things that we're doing our best to have some strategies in place to hopefully reduce that number significantly.
And speaking to the vape pens, they come in all shapes, forms, and fashions, and some just look like a little pen, and so they're cleverly done, unfortunately, and we're not certain that students realize it's as dangerous as the other areas of cannabis. Okay, and the last slide on discipline, looking at our fighting at the CESR level, that increased 19 instances from, it doubled there from 2017, 18, 19, this is up to 38. That also is a part of the updated Senate Bill 7030, where as if it was a assessor fight, it was reported to law enforcement for informational number, or possibly an arrest if that was warranted, although that didn't typically happen. But now they're wanting even local fights, the small little fights where the kids stop, just a little disgruntledness that they may have, not dangerous, not injury, not major restraint. So our local ones will be reported to law enforcement as far as reporting purposes go. It won't be reported at assessor level, but law enforcement's going to have to do a report for all of those. And the center column from the 2017-18 to the 2018-19, that's all levels of threats that we put together. Threat intimidation at the assessor level or threatening behaviors to staff, that's a local code that we have. We put them all together because they're threats in some form or fashion, and you know definitely Senate Bill 7026 talked about threat assessments. So those have been going on all last year and will of course continue throughout this coming school year. In the 2017-18 year we had 13, and the 2018-19 school year we had 29, an increase of 16. And the last discipline item is weapons, and it kind of flatlined. However, it had the same number, 17 instances for both years, but there's also secondary codes. So if you're putting in a code, assessor, you might be using two codes. They'll read the first code. If it's a drug offense with a knife, they're going to take the drug level first before they would a local pocket knife. So that's indicative of us increasing in all the other areas, and some of those threats might have been with a knife, but they took the threat part first. And so at least that stayed steady, if not declining, hopefully next year.
And some of those might have also been, depending on the severity of the incident, the primary could have been a disruption on campus. And so disruptions on campus or the TRE actually was the one who was the primary code.
So at least the assessor codes aren't duplicated. There's just one that they'll account for, and they look at the most severe level. Okay.
All right, if we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Sherry Raretka to talk about some of the great things that are going on in our schools in reference to positive behavior intervention.
I get to share the good stuff. Sorry, Darla. So some things that we do have in place, we do have a large percentage of our schools that are implementing PBIS, so they have a very specific focus on recognizing behaviors, teaching behaviors, and then positively reinforcing them. I actually run a program on Monday nights called Choice to Change, and that is for students and their parents in grades 6 through 12. That's an alternative to out-of-school suspension, or if the student is just showing some behavior issues, sometimes parents will call and they'll just simply say, I don't know what to do with my child. So it's a 6-week class that they come with the parent. It's one of the few things that we do that actually involves parents in an education program. We do cover drug use. We also talk about anger management. We talk about making good choices, healthy relationships, and communication. Another thing that we're doing is we're working on increasing our social emotional learning in schools with various programs. Danielle Saunders, who works with elementary guidance counselors, and myself went to a Second Step Leadership Institute this summer and really developed a concrete plan for how we're going to implement Second Step more in our elementary schools to really help them. That is like a conflict resolution, empathy building program to really help students with some areas they struggle with. We also have Sanford Harmony, which is a program that's in many of our elementary schools, and we're really expanding that. And Danielle's been really instrumental in getting that going through the school district. Then also Student Services is training in the youth mental health first aid. I know they were diligent all summer in training every single day, even with no air conditioning in Rossi Jeffrey. So. When you're done with that section. Sure. One of the things that we had thought about doing is reinstating the Too Good for Drugs program. When I used to work with Donna Gazarowski in Safe and Drug-Free Schools, that was a program that we had in all of our elementary schools. We taught it to every single fifth grader, so at least they got some drug education and more asset building. So students were able to see the benefits of staying away from drugs by making good choices and how that would benefit them. So we're really looking at how we could bring that back possibly either in middle school or in high school.
One of the things I want to point out in reference to our social emotional section, this board and our superintendent were very proactive even prior to the Senate bill being enacted as far as increasing the staff to address this particular area. Since 2016, with the superintendent's assistance and your approval, we've added over 57 mental health folks to assist us with the social emotional learning aspect. That includes our school social workers, our school psychologists, and our guidance counselors across the board. So we're poised to really add to this, I guess. We have the staff to do what we need to do. We just need to ensure that we have the proper curriculum and get it in the right locations. And the Too Good for Drugs, again, addresses the concern we have with the increase in drug incidents. What we're working on right now is trying to figure out where would that be best. Is it still best in the elementary school? Do we need to do some of it in elementary and in middle school? So those are things that we are working as a team to try and figure out where it would be best to have this curriculum.
Another thing that we have been implementing over the past 2 years is restorative practice. And thanks to the support of our partnership with the Florida PBIS project out of USF, they provide training, and it is no charge to us, so that's always good to have free. There's a list of schools that have been implementing restorative in the classroom. It really starts in the classroom with the teachers implementing circles and using effective statements. I'm proud to say that the people upstairs, we even work on effective statements, right? Yes. Everybody laughs at me, but it's okay. And then we have a couple schools that are coming on board with that this year, so they're going to be trained in that. So it's definitely something that a lot of people are interested in. I also provided for you a little just one-pager about PBIS. A lot of times there's a misconception about what PBIS is. It seems to be that the focus is always, it's about giving token economy to students and then having parties. That is 1/10 of it, but that's a very small part of it. There is a lot of other multifacets to it. I'm happy to say that we had 19 schools go through training this summer and really wanting to just strengthen their PBIS program, how they approach discipline and behaviors, how they teach it, how they work together to get systems in place to really support not only the students, but the teachers and then the community to get them involved. Our last training actually was very much centered on cultural responsiveness. So a lot of the schools that came really had some good looks at how do we respond to students for misbehaviors? Is it related to their culture? Is it related to some kind of trauma? And is it related to some kind of social emotional learning? So there was a great problem solving that happens, and that's PBIS really joining forces with MTSS to be not just academic focused, but behaviorally focused as well. So what I did is I invited Mr. Henry Santiago, our principal at Discovery Intermediate School, because I know it's one thing for me to say it, because obviously I believe in it and it's my passion, but to hear it from somebody at a school that has really seen a lot of growth and improvement, I wanted to hear him to share that with you, so he graciously accepted my invitation. So, Mr. Santiago, please come.
I wonder why you were back there. Hey, good evening, board. All right, so I'm here to say it is good. Thank you. That's a joke I had with Sherry. As it's been stated, really just to piggyback on some of the information that's been presented, social emotional needs at the school level is our need. our district's done a phenomenal job, at least at the site level, adding guidance counselors, social workers, and the restorative practice and PBIS. So those things are being addressed, but as you know, we're way behind when it comes to meeting the needs of our students because they have access to things we've never even dreamt of. And so as soon as they leave our campus, just like anybody else here, they pull out their device, and there's YouTube channels that show nothing but fights. There's YouTube channels that show nothing but disrespect. So that social emotional need is huge at the school level, and our district's done a great job of helping fill that need, but we continue to fight that. In thinking about PBIS, I always look at it in just like we look at academics, we have to teach our students how to learn, how to read. We have to teach them how to behave in the sense of what our expectations are, what's respect mean. We cannot assume anymore. And I'll give you a perfect example. I use it all the time. How many of us know the speed limit down 192? 95. That's why, sorry, that's close, but not quite. So most of us know it's about 45, 50, depending on where you're at. How many of you seen that there's multiple speed limit signs?
I knew that.
Yeah. All right. So why is that? As adults, we all know what the speed limit is, but yet we have speed limit signs that remind us over and over and over again. So thinking about PBIS in that sense of we have to teach respect, we have to give them the examples, we have to model it every single day. And so we start with that foundational piece through PBIS and MTSS process. As it was stated, they need to work together, and they work together like that at Discovery Intermediate School. Sorry, I'm going to brag a little bit about my school. And so we have seen growth. We've seen growth academically, and then we've seen a negative trend in our referrals. So that's where we want to see a negative trend in our overall referrals over 4 years, starting with a great foundation before I got to Discovery and continuing. And a key piece to that is our staff. It's a team effort. I can't stand here and say that, hey, we're successful because of me. We are successful because of the team that I have at Discovery Intermediate School, including every single staff member, community member, parent, student that's involved at Discovery Intermediate School. Our guidance team is huge in this. I'm very pleased to say our guidance team, one of our initiatives through our assistant principal, Gary Dunn, was to make sure that our guidance team had an opportunity to be in front of students being guidance counselors. There's a lot of demand, there's a lot of fine print in everybody's role, but we're very pleased to say that they meet with students, they have small groups, and they work on that social emotional need. Our deans, you may think of deans as people that just deal with consequences, but they practice the restorative practice. So that's one of the things that we really highlight. To make sure that our students are successful. Suspension does not solve anything. A consequence does not do anything. We have to teach them, and finally we have to get back to that why. So we look at the data the same way we look at academically, and we find the why are students having these behaviors that we do not want. We highlight those positives and continue to show those examples so students understand what it looks like, and we get down to the why, and we have conversations about every student, and we have conversations with those students and with their parents, and we find out what the why is, and we do our best to meet their needs. So from a site level, just to give you guys that information of that social emotional need still being huge, and like I said, our district's done a great job moving that forward, but it's still something that we have to continue to address and think of new ways to process that. So the drug program is something that would be great, and it seems simple, but the more we can repeat, educate, give examples, be a model, the better our students are going to be for it. So thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Yeah, appreciate that.
Mr. Santiago, we appreciate the passion and the leadership that you've brought to Discovery.
Yes.
It really does show in the culture of your school. And I believe it's an example of an effective statement, too, is it not?
Yes, that was
I
good,
wanted to model that, too.
Yes,
Right.
thank you. I appreciate that. That was positive, specific praise. Good job, Mr. Phelps. Do you all have any questions?
This is not at all what I would call what my dad did to me.
No. It's cause and effect.
And was it effective?
We're extremely fortunate to have Sherry and Darla with your passion on everything you do, year in, year out. So it does make a difference around here, and I really appreciate you bringing
Thank you.
A school in to talk about very specific what you're seeing, because that's makes it a little more real for us also. So we appreciate you very much what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Dr. Pace?
And if I might again just remind the board, I know you're very aware of this, but Mr. Santiago is a second-year principal at Discovery Intermediate. He's done an amazing job, and I want to applaud him for the growth and the recognition and the positive culture.
What that means is you're not allowed to leave.
No.
Ever.
No.
Board, any other?
Thank you.
You said it. You guys are great. We so
Thank
much
you.
appreciate the work that you do. It's so important to every part of what we do as a district, and the fact that you guys are so passionate about the work, so professional, and you really do drive results, and you take the impact of what it is you do so seriously. We're truly grateful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All of you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate the board's support.
No,
Yes.
thank you. Thanks, Tom, for
Always. Thank you for your time.
leadership.
Thank you, Darla. Cherry, appreciate it.
All righty.
Try to be kind to somebody today.
Let me see here. Brings us to item 15, our human resources and our regular agenda board.
I'll move to approve 1504.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 15.04. Board, any discussion or comments?
I just want to say, thank you for trying to save the district some money and going and, Mark, we appreciate that. And certainly, I think we've seen some measurable differences when having a math coordinator at the district. We've talked about that, so certainly I'm on board with this here, Dr.
Yes, we got to step those two areas up if this helps.
Absolutely.
I'm in. So, board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, approval item 15.04, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Just item 16 on our facilities.
That would be
Motion to approve item 16.09.
second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishire with a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 16.09 for our regular facilities agenda items. Any further questions or comments? Board, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
To approve 1701.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Weishire to approve item 17.01, which is our Teamsters approval. And just a comment on that, the vote I think was pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very pleased with that. Appreciate it. Any other comments, board? Hearing none, all those in favor of item 17.01 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve item 18.02.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishire with a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 18.02. Right, 18.01 was pulled. Board, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of 18.02 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Attorney comments.
Members of the board, I have 3 items to cover with you. The first is we originally had scheduled for tonight. We canceled it, and we are announcing at this meeting following the August 6th meeting, there will be a closed litigation session involving the Department of Administrative Affairs case involving trade logistics, charter, and our school district. In attendance will be the board members, Dr. Pace, myself, and the court reporter. The only things you can talk about at that, for the record, are settlement discussions and or litigation strategy. Following that, this will not be posted. There'll be a closed session that involves reporting to you on all the good things regarding safety that are occurring. Second item is I want to remind everybody, if you could please make a note to get Dr. Pace's evaluations done. And
What's the deadline on that?
Don't answer the question. I've reinterpreted the deadline to be a reminder deadline. Then the next item involves real estate. There was a senior meeting led by Dr. Pace with the CFO, legal, and our brokers in attendance. There's been a lot of discussions, given the incredible work that Rhonda and the team have done in the area of real estate and the different hurdles. We are recommending at this time, Dr. Pace, myself, and all involved, that you vote tonight to direct us to put on hold and not go forward with acquiring either what you would know as the Knightbridge property, which you recall you previously voted on, subject to my getting with Mr. Weisshire, and based upon discussions, we've done that. Additionally, the other piece of property would involve Yates Road, and we will now utilize our brokers to do what you brought them in to do and work with Rhonda, and we will keep you posted on the status of how we're doing.
Very good.
So I need a vote to direct us.
You do need a vote to do that?
Yes.
Second.
I have a, excuse me, a motion by Mr. Soto with a second by Mr. Booth to allow the attorney to move forward with our broker on the real estate pen deals that were pending and future ones.
And to hold,
And to
not
hold
go
the-
forward on
hold the
Yates
two, the Knightsbridge
or
and
Knightsbridge
Yates.
at this time.
Is that clear for the record? Board, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 4-0.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you know, our brokers came tonight, Mike Beal and his better partner, Jill, who know our areas really well, and I have to tell you, have really worked very hard for us in the last week, helping us deal with a number of issues, so thank you, guys.
Okay.
The final piece of good news, a surprise for Dr. Pace, I was with my good friend who happens to be the vice chairman of Planet Hollywood, who owns actually a number of restaurant chains, the company, one of which is Buca de Beppo, which opened in Celebration. And we were commiserating about the need to have teachers and educators be celebrated more. And one thing led to the other, so I'm pleased to tell you, Dr. Pace and the board, that Buca de Beppo is going to honor the educators you choose, one a week, can go, them and their guest, for a complimentary meal at a Buca de Beppo restaurant.
Nice.
So at least,
The
I'm
board,
talking to some
the
other
board
people
will try
too,
that
as you
out
know.
first and make sure it's okay.
Actually, they were concerned about one board member eating too much, so they said no to the board.
Okay.
Okay,
Clearly, that's me.
That's right. But you know,
that is great.
And I'm talking, Westgate's talking with us about doing something, but to me, every little thing that we can do to help you guys with what you're trying to do for teachers. So Tom Avalone is the guy, and we'll tie you together, and it's, hopefully we'll get more businesses doing stuff.
Okay. You done?
Mr. Kruppenbacher.
Dr. Pace, do you have any update? If not, if you'll take us to the unfinished business.
One quick update, as a result of our conversations throughout the week about a legislative priority workshop, we will schedule that on Wednesday. What day is August the 13th? Tuesday, August the 13th at 6 p.m. from 6 to 8. I will have to do some pushing to make sure that our lobbyists are available. If they're not available to come in person, Mr. Bruce, Jessica, and Jim from Rutledge Ucinia, as well as Mike Horner, then we'll set up a Zoom meeting or something. But I think that worked with your calendars, and I know that in our meeting last week to discuss finances, you had indicated that this is a priority for you, as we know the committee meetings start very, very soon.
Good.
which does bring us then to unfinished business, our final student-created logo for Student Design Contest. I know that you have had an opportunity to begin reviewing this. Because Ms. Castillo is not here, we're not going to actually call for a vote tonight. It's there for your discussion, or actually right now just there for your review. I do want to take this opportunity to again thank Kelly Trace and her team, who have gone way above and beyond to donate their time to work with our students, work with our teachers, then work with their professional designers to develop a consensus based on what you guys can see there today. And I also want to thank Dana and her team for working side by side, Melanie Stevanowitz and the group, and then our students and staff who really participated in this digital design process. It's been a great learning experience for them, I think, as well as for all of us. I know when we started out down this road, we said that we might not get to something yet that we love. And that's okay. We're not, completely against Chief Osceola, but at the same time, I don't know that we're prepared to adopt a change tonight. I know I'm not prepared to make a recommendation to you as a board, and really this does come from the board and needs to. I'll be waiting for the board to decide if we want to bring it back. But it's there for your review. Want to thank Kelly and her team, thank Dana and her team, and we can decide how we move forward from here.
Any comments?
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Pace. I agree with that, and I just want to say we cannot discount the opportunity that these students had to work on this project. I mean, no matter what happens at the end of this whole project, we shouldn't discount the opportunity, and led in part by Ms. Trace and her team, and our communication staff, Dana and her team. So I just want to say thank you to all those folks involved, because I think you really, really gave these students a taste of a real situation, outside of the school walls, and so thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar, but Gabe, I know you're here, and I know you've done a tremendous amount of work, have been very patient, and have worked alongside of the students to move through this process, and you've worked hard to clean up and refine designs and make sure that everything was flowing as needed. And so I know you're an important part of this whole project, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to thank you publicly for your work on it. Sir.
Anybody else?
That's good.
Board members, any other comments or questions, just general? I have two quick ones. One, I got a note from our former school board member, Mr. Wheeler, today, but it's kind of apropos, and it's maybe for you, Randy. I'm not sure who, but
oh no.
I know in Celebration the county's got a bunch of construction going on right at a school entrance. We've got a week or two left. Can we check all of our schools and see if we've got any major projects going, and maybe touch base with St. Cloud, Kissimmee, and the county, and just make sure, maybe particularly on the first week or so of school, if they can not either start something on the first day of school that blocks off entrances or something, or if they're in the middle of something, it's easy to kind of postpone for a few days. We know it's extremely hard on day one, particularly for a kindergartner parent, to find where they're going and all that stuff. So I know we had some issues last year. If we could just check it out between now
Keith's
and
going
then.
to handle those. Councilman Trace is going to handle any of those St. Cloud
ones.
issues that we had last year, beginning a construction project on the same day that school started on a road that has two schools.
I have been looking at them, and I did ask the bus drivers in their dry runs to take a look and let me know of anything.
Okay.
So I will check on those, and I got to check on the roundabout in Celebration.
Yeah, at Celebration, I was out there today, so I'm in that community a lot. It is shut down right in front of our high school. So just so you're aware, we do need to make sure we look at that one in specific.
Could I ask Mr. Clinch where we're at on the Narcoossee? I think it was a turn lane or decel lane.
Yeah, the traffic circulation improvements are going very well.
Great.
We've completed most of the work in the public right-of-way, and the on-site work is progressing very well. So it looks like we're going to be in good shape for the start of school.
Thank you for the hard work on that. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And if I could just add really quickly, Mr. Clinch and his team and Mr. Shatera and Lester and Randy will be out at our newest schools particular, or schools that are changing their entrances, like Neo City, like Harmony Middle, like Michigan Ave and St. Cloud Middle, Narcoossee Elementary, on the first day of school, both for arrival and dismissal, to assist our school teams with transportation issues. But we are looking ahead as well.
Good. Randy, now I think about it too, it's not just the entrance at Celebration High School, but they've got an entire resurfacing project on Celebration Boulevard going on. So they've got one lane of the 2 lanes in each direction shut down for resurfacing. So it's not just the entrance, now that I remember, it's everything down there.
Maybe they'll have some time to get it out of the way.
Mr. Creech and I are going to go take a look.
Yep.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
And is that it on that topic? And I had just one more comment I wanted to make. Tonight, we've talked about Target giving over $100,000. We've talked about Bucko Peepo giving teachers
Bippity boppity boop.
Giving dinners to honor teachers. The thing I meant to talk about earlier, which I didn't, was Addition, the former Central Florida Chairs Union, redid a classroom at St. Cloud Elementary School based on
Renovate to Educate.
Renovate to Educate, which Dr. Pace and I went to that. And we've got to have outside help, as we do every day. I get to see the donation list at every board meeting on things that we see, and I know there's a bunch goes on that we don't see. So it's extremely important, and we can't do a lot of things for our kids because of our funding levels that we are able to do with some of this extra help. So we got to be mindful of that and appreciative of that, and keep those people and companies that are helping us and moving things along as you move forward to and do your own business. So that is all I had. If there's
I just want to, it was already mentioned, but we should recognize Councilman Keith Trace that's with us as well. He's one of the valued partners that we have as a school board. We're fortunate to have the relationships we do with the city council. He is, and he's a great addition to the city council. I know a great friend and partner of the school board and school district, so it's good to see you here too.
Thank you, Councilman.
With that, if there's nothing else, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming. And that was.
Yes, I said whoever had the that was too funny, man. I gotta give you.